Hi everyone, hope everyone is well. This evening I am playing the Battle of Hastings, obviously 1066. This is part of the Norman Conquests game from GMT, which in turn is part of their Men of Iron range. This is a scenario I've played a few times, haven't played it for a couple of months, so I thought I'd get it onto the table and run through it again. And I'll playing the game solo. The game solo is pretty well actually. It's not a solo game specific. I'm having to play both sides. And I've got the game set up. So what we have here, we have the Norman army, which these blue counters on this side, and we have the Saxon army, which are the green counters on this side. And I've placed a lot of the Saxon army in a shield wall, which will hopefully impeach the Norman attack against the wall. One of the things that's interesting about this game is in the scenario description, there's a separate scenario book, as well as giving a bit of historical content, which is always welcome. The game does say the balance is in favour of the Normans. The previous times I have played this, the Normans have won both times, but we'll see if the Saxons can do better than they have done before. It's not a long playing in wargaming terms scenario, but it's a couple of hours. I have a little bit of spare time this evening, but I don't think I'll get it played in one evening. I think it'll take me a couple of evenings to play, and I do enjoy playing at a fairly leisurely pace, I will be honest. And what I'll do is I'll do some activations as normal and then talk about how the battle is shaping up, maybe talk about some of the specific mechanics as I sort of encounter them and any points of interest or things that I think are worth making a note. One of the interesting things about the Battle of Hastings, and this is covered in this book, is to the exact hill and the exact location of the battle. But I'm playing it in the description it's given in the scenario book. There are two subtle differences, but there are two types of scenarios. There's the main deployment, which I've done here, but there's also an optional deployment, which I have not chosen to do this evening. I'm going to do the main deployment as featured in the scenario book. So with no further ado, I shall make a start. So we've carried out a few activations, and the Normans are trying to break through this shield wall, as you would expect. They have been able to make a bit of a dent on this side of the battle here, and the Saxons, so enraged by this, broke ranks a little bit out of their shield wall and tried to push the Normans back. At least that's the way I'm playing it in the story, the narrative of the battle. But haven't been that effective in doing so. We've got some disordered units here, but they'll probably be able to rally in their next activation. The Saxons have had a couple of casualties, so in terms of the flight points, the Saxons are at a disadvantage. But this side of the battle here, right at the very top, is pretty much a standoff. In fact, I would say for the most part, the Saxons have been able to repel the attacks made on them by the Normans and have done a sterling job in doing so. In the game mechanics, this is simply because a shield wall gives impairs the ability of the attacking unit. And the simple case is the Normans haven't been able to get a good enough die roll to be able to break through that shield wall in this section and the middle section. It's only really the bottom formation here that have suffered from the Saxons' perspective. However, the Saxons, with some lucky die rolls, could make good and see if they can just move some units round. I played the Saxons quite defensively, maybe a touch too much. I could have seized a better opportunity there. I actually moved the leader back because the unit his leader is attached to was disordered. So I need to rally that leader and then maybe move these three units up here and see if they can get into the fight as well. From the Normans' perspective, they need to keep battering on this shield wall. The archers are probably their friend there, although in the history the archers were not always that effective. But we'll see with some lucky die rolls, we'll see. And still the Normans are struggling to break through the Saxon lines. They've tried several attempts Saxon's shield wall still holding firm, been able to repel them at every attack really, apart from maybe this attack down the bottom here. They managed to break through, and the Saxons then came out of their line, and the Normans took advantage and did a cavalry charge with horse, but that was unsuccessful, which was mostly down to some die rolling. However, we are in a situation where cavalry are charging pike, which means they may shy from the charge and only perform shot combat, which is basically melee combat rather than like a charge melee combat. So that charge was ineffective, really. We do have some disrupted counters here, so maybe the Normans on this side of the board, the bottom side of the board, can just make good on that. If they can close this door and then push through, that may help. And then the Saxons, obviously, their job is just to try and hold on as they have been doing, and just close up any gaps. There was a gap here that was formed, and the Saxons successfully closed that gap, and that hurt the Norman attacks quite a lot. So do some more activations and see how we get on. In that last activation, the Saxons unfortunately have lost this leader here. The Normans here, with a cavalry charge, a horse charge, have eliminated this leader here. So it will be replaced with a replacement. And this could be the sort of one of the turning points of this particular battle. As this potentially could be the Norman breakthrough that they're looking to get. They just keep the Saxon shield walls are just repelling them every single time. There's nothing that they can do successfully yet, apart from here. They have pushed some of these units back a little bit, but not enough really. So we'll see if the Normans can make good and take advantage of this opening here. They do have horse here as well. So if they can start to wheel round and then open this door completely, that could be ruinous for the Saxon army. However, the Saxons can try and close that door as well. They do have plenty of units to do so. So yeah, we'll see. It's quite an interesting sort of turn of events. Definitely the sort of a loss of leader. It has some gameplay impact, of course, but you know, one can't help imagine the sort of the battle playing out and the impact that would have had on the nearby troops. So yeah, we'll do some more. So now it's shaping up. The Normans have been able to make some quite good leadway. They have definitely broken through here at this top here with some good die rolls, and they've been able to move the commander of this sort of grouping here, as it were. So these units are now out of command. In the middle, they've actually been, this shield wall here has been able to hold them back quite effectively. They gave another push on the shield wall, but they stood firm. However, just this section here, Normans have been able to open up a bit of a door here, push the shield wall back, and disrupt it so they're no longer in shield wall here. This section, again, the Normans have been able to sort of start to make really good, and they've inflicted some more casualties in the game. Now, interestingly, the flight points, so this is the point in which, due to casualties or etc., the side sort of surrenders, as it were, or you know, they've had enough and the game is finished. The Saxons have taken quite a bit of punishment the last couple of, I wouldn't say turns because it's not a turn-based game, but the last few activations, and the Saxons are very close to their breaking point, which will mean a victory to the Normans. And certainly they've been able to break through the shield wall in a few places here, especially here at the bottom. Saxons have lost one of their leaders. King is still good, but it does feel like they've held onto this hill quite well, but the Normans have been able to push their way through, and I think we'll basically just need one more casualty and it will be a Norman victory, which is what I predict will happen. However, the Saxons are not going to give it up easy, and they'll try and hold on as long as they can. The flight points for the Normans is much. It's a higher threshold, so the Normans have got to take more casualties, and the casualties they've incurred so far have been some, but not anywhere near like the Saxons. So it feels like an impending victory for the Normans, but we'll give it a few more activations and see how we end up. Yeah, so the battle is finished, and not surprisingly, the Normans were able to inflict another casualty on this unit here. Not the actual leader, but the unit underneath. And so therefore the Saxons reached their flight limit, and I'm going to call the game there. However, the Saxons did inflict quite a few casualties in the last few of their activations, and it ended up pretty even Stevens. It's just the Normans had a higher flight point threshold than the Saxons did. And we can see here on the battlefield, the Saxons still were able to hold their lines reasonably well. I mean, there's a door here that was open, and at the bottom here of the battle. In fact, this part here was probably the biggest element of the battle, I would say. And both these cavalry horse units here had no impact on the game whatsoever. So quite a close game. Could have gone either way, I felt. It took like a couple of leisurely evenings to play. You could play it in one session, in one sitting, if you so desire. It's not a massive scenario. Just take a little bit of time, mostly because of the shield wall. The shield wall is very effective at holding back the types of troops that were attacking it. So that was quite interesting and quite compelling for the game. Certainly, I could play out the battle in my mind's eye, my imagination, as it was taking part. So a very rich narrative, and could have gone either way. What would I do differently next time? I would have thematically, maybe not for gameplay, I would have brought the horse in. I just, at the time, there just wasn't the opportunities. Really, much like the history, the Saxons, Normans should have broken the shield wall, and then the Saxons pushed them back, and then the horse come in and charged against those. That would have been very thematic, and I might even, next time I play, contrive it a little bit to see how that plays out. That is one of the benefits of playing these types of hex encounter games solo. You can try different scenarios to your desire and to your interest. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this game system. Covered it quite a bit on my YouTube. If you haven't seen the other videos I've done from this game, please check those out. If you have played this, would love to hear any comments and thoughts about how this battle worked out for you, as always. And thanks a lot for watching, and take care.